Okay, so let's look at this one. So this is a sample question. Based on your personal experience, write a review on a restaurant that you had visited before. Again, visited. So past tense, state what you like and dislike about the restaurant and whether you would recommend others to dine in the restaurant. So for this, it clearly mentions that you have to talk about your likes and dislikes. Okay, so it's easier for you. So how do we go about this, right? So I have already prepared this one. It's like it's not a template, but these are some of the useful phrases that you can use when writing or when talking about a restaurant review or a cafe review. Okay, so these are some of the things. Of course, before you write, you have to come up with the like the outline or the draft first. Okay, basically what you want to write the points. Hold on. Okay, so of course, when you want to write a restaurant review, you have to choose a restaurant that you want to review on. So it can be any restaurant, but of course, it has to be a restaurant that you visited. So name of the restaurants, it can be any name. It's up to you. For example, is Bean Burger, Coco Cafe, Samuel's Satay House, Almizan Satay House, or whatever. Okay, whatever restaurant you want to name. Okay, but please be careful because this is a name. Okay, a name. So you have to use capital letter. Right? Do not forget. I know that this is a writing. This is writing, but then you also have to always consider grammar when writing. So naming the restaurant alone is not enough. Okay, you have to be more descriptive. Remember, is a descriptive writing anyway, so you have to be as descriptive as possible. So naming the restaurant alone is not enough, so you have to talk about the location of the restaurant. For example, by the Malacca River. So the underlined ones, okay, you see I've already stated here, replace the underlined ones according to your own, so you can always modify according to your own choices of restaurant. Okay. For example, this one by the Malacca River or by the Pahang River. Okay. So, for example, the Bean Burger is located by the Malacca River. Okay. Or in the heart of the city. So, let's say you live in a big city, and it's also the restaurant is also located in the middle of the city. So you can say it's located in the heart of the city instead of just saying that oh it's located in the city, which is very boring, very plain. Or nearby the sea. Let's say you went to a seafood restaurant. So you say that the restaurant is situated or it's located nearby the sea. And this is even better, like snuggle between the pool and the shopping mall. Okay, of course, you can replace them with any two places. Okay, for example, Samuel's Satay House is snuggled between a library and also a museum, for example. For this one, nestled in a new neighborhood. So let's say that there is a new neighborhood and there are also many new restaurants. So Coco Cafe is like one of the new restaurants in the new neighborhood. So you can say that it's nestled in a new neighborhood. Okay. And then, of course, talking about a restaurant or a cafe would not be complete or would be yeah would just be incomplete without talking about the ambience or the atmosphere of the restaurant. So when you talk about atmosphere, it also covers all these aspects, for example like quality, and then the decoration of the restaurant, the noise level, basically what makes up the entire atmosphere of the restaurant. Okay. um, and mainly the physical ones. Again, it can be good and bad. So these are some of the phrases that you can use. For example, I enjoyed the splendid view. For example, let's say that the restaurant is located by the sea. So you can say that the view is very amazing, very spectacular. So you enjoyed the splendid view. And you see, instead of saying that you enjoyed the view, you add splendid, which is an adjective, right? So remember, you always have to use adjective. You cannot run away or escape from adjective when it comes to descriptive writing. And then you can talk about, for example, the the music, or what is in the background, the noise, the music. For example, the jazz music, or it can be any sort of music. Okay, so let's say the jazz music. Normally in a cafe, you find jazz music being played. Okay, so the jazz music played at the restaurant made our dining experience better. Okay, and then if it's a bad experience, for example, the restaurant was crowded and noisy. For example, you really cannot stand, okay, the noise. You really hated the noise, so you can say that the restaurant was crowded, or the noise of the restaurant was deafening. I see the word deafening is even better for you to use. And also, like the smell of tobacco infiltrated the air. So instead of saying that the smell of tobacco, filled the air, you do not want to use the word fill. Okay, you can replace it with this one, a better word. On the floor, you see, there's so many things that you can talk about a restaurant. You can talk about the floor, the noise, the tables, the chairs, the waiters, the waitress, many things. So the floor was scattered with spilled food. And again, you do not just say food, but you say spilled food. And spill is an adjective. Okay, so now you see the importance of adjective in your writing. And then, apart from talking about the ambience, the atmosphere, of course, you have to talk about food and beverages. So this also covers the food choices, the presentation, or how the food looks, and how the food tastes or smells. Okay, everything about food and beverages. So food and beverages. And for example, you want to talk about the menu, or the kind of food it offers, the restaurant offers. For example, there was a wide range of Western dishes. Let's say you went to an Arabic restaurant, so you can say there was a wide range of Arabic dishes or Asian dishes. Okay, so you change according to your to the type of restaurant. You don't simply memorize everything without changing. Okay, for example, let's say you actually went to an Arabic restaurant and suddenly you're right. There was a wide range of Western dishes, so please be very careful. Do not simply memorize. And then the dishes were mouth-watering. Instead of saying that oh the dishes were tasty or were delicious, use mouth-watering, use scrumptious, tantalizing, or all these words. And then um, you're also not just restricted to only talking about the food, dishes, cuisines. You can talk about the menus, the recipes. You see the recipes as well. The recipes featured tasty local flavors. It means that the recipes um, also included tasty local dishes. That's the meaning. Mhm. Okay. And then you want to talk about the maybe the what is it the texture. Yeah, the texture. You can also talk about the texture of the food. Okay, for example, the meat, the chicken. Like for example, the meat was cooked to perfection. The chicken was grilled to perfection, right? Or the meat was seasoned to perfection. Like you put in, all sorts of herbs. There are many herbs added to the chicken, so you can say that the chicken was seasoned, okay, to perfection. I could smell the fragrant herbs. Again, adjective. The use of adjective fragrant. Fragrant means it smells nice. But if it's a bad review, for example, there was a limited number of beverages offered. It means there were not many choices of drinks offered. The prawn tempura was served soggy. The meat was overcooked, which is the complete opposite of what we look at just now. This one, the meat was cooked to perfection, but this one is the meat was overcooked. Or I could barely eat the oily fried rice. So from the word oily, we know that it was not a good experience. It was not good fried rice. Okay. The apple juice was extremely, see the use of adverb, extremely sugary. So it was too sweet. So instead of saying it was too sweet, you say it was extremely sugary. And then, of course, talk about the services, talk about how the waiters treated you or how the host treated you. Okay. So, for example, the waiters were knowledgeable. The waiters look experienced. These are the words like knowledgeable, experience. Um, the host the host was very friendly. Okay, and the service was amazing. Or if you want to be even more descriptive, you can say the waiters treated guests or treated customers with respect, although the restaurant was busy. So when you provide more description like this, for example, although the restaurant was busy, so you will sound more convincing, because you've got proof. Okay, and the proof is, the restaurant was busy, but then they still delivered very good service. Okay, so this way you not just sound descriptive, but you also sound persuasive. Because you remember, a good review is a review that is able to persuade people. And that's why you can see a lot of people nowadays, they do food reviews. Okay, lots of food reviews online. For example, yang famous food reviewer. Yes, for example, Jason. I'm not sure if you know. Okay, the famous Chinese food reviewer. Okay, so he's one of the food reviewers, one of the most famous food reviewers. And whenever he reviews, people also feel like trying the food that he has reviewed because of the way he reviews the food. So same goes. Although that is oral, okay, there's not a written review, but again, it serves the same purpose. You have to review to persuade people. Okay. Uh, okay. Yes. And when you talk about the service, you can also talk. Sorry, when you talk about service, you can also talk about the wait time. Now, like how long you had to wait, how long you had to wait for the waiter to come with the menu, or how long you had to wait for the food to arrive. So, for example, here the wait time was obnoxiously long. So you see, we use the adverb obnoxiously long. Obnoxiously, and then long is an adjective. Okay, so you use an adverb before an adjective. Or the service was slow, although there were not many diners. Like this one, the waiters treated guests with respect, although the restaurant was busy, right? But this one, the service was slow, although there were not many people. So it was surprising that it was slow because it should have been fast because there were not many people, right? But it was slow. And then the waiters were unfriendly. So for example, upon reaching the restaurant, I was surprised to discover that the waiters were unfriendly, for example. And then talking about price as well. So price is also one of the elements that you cannot avoid when talking or when reviewing a place or a restaurant, a cafe, reviewing food. So, example, reasonably priced. The word reasonably. All types of food are reasonably priced, or the foods are affordable. Okay? So the prices are affordable. The price may be expensive, but worth it. But it's worth it. Okay, so there are many ways for you to put it. You don't just have to say that it's good or the prices are affordable. Okay, what if the prices are not affordable, but then the food is good, right? So you can just be honest. You can say that the prices may be expensive, but the food is good, or but you get what you pay for. Uh, okay, and if it's bad, I mean, is in terms of the price is bad, you can say that the price was not comparable to the food and service. It means that okay, you have to pay. It's expensive, but then it doesn't measure to the food and service standard, which are of low quality. And then the bill was outrageously expensive. So it was expensive, but it was not just expensive, but it was outrageously expensive. It was extremely expensive. And then we were charged more than we had expected. For example, let's say you came together with your family or your friends, so of course you have to use the pronoun we. But if you went to the restaurant alone, so you use I. Okay, so I was charged more than I had expected. Let's say you did not browse through the menu. You did not, so you did not get to see the prices, but then you already had like certain price expectations, but then you were surprised when the bill came, okay, because you had expected that it would be cheaper, but then it turns out that it was more expensive. So you can say this way, okay. And finally, after talking about everything, you have to state your overall opinion, whether you want to recommend this place or whether you do not want to recommend this place to people. For example, I highly recommend the Cave restaurant. But of course, you do not just stop there. You have to elaborate some more. Or, for example, this one. I highly recommend Shiroshu Sushi. Shiroshu Sushi would be a perfect Japanese restaurant for you. So you can just combine, okay, all these phrases, and then this restaurant delivers the best dining experience. Or if it's bad, you do not want people to come because you just think that it's not worth it for people to come. I do not recommend this restaurant due to the aforementioned reason. So aforementioned means what has been stated or what has been said, which you have written before. Okay, there are better seafood restaurants in the vicinity or in the area. For example, this one, let's say you went to this seafood restaurant, but then the seafood restaurant is bad. Okay, so you want to compare to all the other seafood restaurants. So you can say that there are better seafood restaurants in the area. Okay, so you're suggesting to people that they shouldn't go to this specific restaurant that you are reviewing. Uh, Now, how do you break the points apart? Okay, so you have to divide all the points into several paragraphs. I am not sure how many paragraphs your teacher asked you to write in. May I know how many paragraphs? Did the recording of this meeting? Oh my god, unfortunately, I did not record. Wait. Huh? Wait, but I think I do have. Yes, I do have the separate one. It's just that it's not. It doesn't include the screen. Okay, never mind. Wait, huh? Let me see if I can. Wait, how do I? Never mind. Okay. Back to my question just now. Where is it? Okay. Back to my question. How many paragraphs did your teacher ask you to write in for review? 5. Okay. Then it's the same then. Okay, 5 reviews. All right. So how can you divide those points into like five paragraphs? Okay, 5 paragraphs. So this is how the layout can be. Okay, so of course, no matter what writing it is, the first paragraph always has to have the most basic, okay, the most basic information about something or about the thing that you want to talk about. So that can be the name of the restaurant. Let's say this is a restaurant review or a cafe review, okay? So you can put in the name of the restaurant and the location of the restaurant in the first paragraph. And then the second paragraph, you can talk about the atmosphere. So you can dedicate the entire paragraph to the atmosphere. Okay, to only the atmosphere. Why? Because for the atmosphere, like I told you just now, there are many things that you can cover, like the light quality, the decoration, noise level, the music, and everything. You know, the cleanliness. So there are so many things. That's why you can dedicate the whole paragraph for the atmosphere. And then for paragraph 3, you can talk about the menus and services together. And when you talk about the menus, of course, that includes the food and beverages. Okay, and then you can also include the service. Or if you feel that the whole paragraph is needed for you to talk about the menus and also the food and beverages, you can bring the services here to the fourth paragraph. So in the fourth paragraph, you can talk about the service and the price as well, right? Because for the price, I think there is nothing much, that you can talk about. So maybe you can combine services and the price. And then finally, your recommendation, of course, that will be the conclusion. So now I've got two samples here, but we're just going to look at the first one. Okay. What time is it? 9. Yeah. Okay. Now this is an Arabic restaurant. So the restaurant that I have dined in recently or lately is Wadi Hana El Arabi restaurant in Johor Bahru. Okay, so you may think that, oh, we have already stated the location within Johor Bahru, but that's not enough, right? So you have to be more precise or more specific with the location. So you go further, you say that, or you describe the restaurant further, like what kind of restaurant it is, so you become more specific. Now, this is an Arabic cuisine restaurant, and you also want to be more specific with the location. You say, which can be found at the edge of Jalan Pembangunan Taman Desa Rahman. Okay, so at the edge of. So that is also one way for you to talk about the location of a place. Mm, but of course, you do not have to be very, very specific. For example, like it's um, located at Jalan 10 Taman Surya, blah blah blah. There's no need. Okay, there's no need to be that specific. So you see, like two sentences would suffice for the introductory paragraph, or two or three sentences at most. At most, three sentences cannot exceed. And then now the second paragraph is for the atmosphere. The moment I stood at the entrance of the shop or at the restaurant, you see, instead of saying the moment I arrived or when I arrived, so normally you would write when I arrived or when I reach the restaurant, right? Which is very, very plain. So you want to replace it with something like this. The moment I stood at the entrance of the restaurant, the aroma or the smell of, of cooked lamb gravy. So instead of saying just lamb gravy, you say cook. So cook is an adjective that describes the type of lamb gravy. So the cooked one. Okay. And biryani hit my nose. Indeed, that has allured me to get into the restaurant. But this is just a sample. Um, I would also like to, I mean, this is just a sample, like a student sample, but I also would like you to look at the grammatical error that the student committed. Okay, we purposely have the error here so that you also can see that this is also the kind of error that you want to avoid. For example, this one, indeed, that has. You cannot use has or have because it already had happened. So it should be that had allured me, okay, to get into the restaurant, or that had attracted me. So saying allured is just another way of saying attracted. My jaw dropped looking at the glamorous Arabic cultural concept of the restaurant. So now you're talking about the ambience, like the concept of the restaurant or the decoration of the restaurant. How was it decorated? So, so the restaurant was adorned with Arabic concept. Or let's say if it's a Western restaurant, so how would you talk about the concept of the restaurant? Or let's say you went to a cafe, let's say the coffee shop. So how would you talk about the coffee shop? So maybe it had outdoor seatings, and then you can also talk about how the cafe is like very laid back, very casual, things like that. Now this one, so my jaw dropped looking at the glamorous Arabic cultural concept. There were a few dining tables. Now you're talking about like the tables and chairs as well. I told you just now. You can also talk about all these things, tables, chairs. Okay, like how they are arranged in the restaurant. Like are they neatly arranged, or they are scattered everywhere? It like the whole sitting looks messy. So you can also talk about that. Okay, so this one, there were a few dining tables. So a few dining tables means quite a lot dining tables, neatly arranged. Again, you see the use of adverb here, neatly. Because if you just say that the dining tables were arranged, like people cannot really visualize or imagine how the tables are arranged. Okay, so you can be more specific by adding an adverb like neatly arranged in a row. So now it has gotten even more specific, in a row. So you like people can already visualize how like the seating looks like. And then while a few pillows were kept as seats and tables on the ground in the corner. Okay, so now we're done with the atmosphere. Moving on to the menus and services, aside from the concept or apart from the concept, the restaurant's main draw or main attraction is the magical taste of Arab cuisine. So you see the word magical, that is an adjective which describes the noun taste. So how did it taste like? So it tastes magical, or it tastes amazing, it tastes perfect. Both the chicken and lamb were well cooked and very palatable. So you see, look at all these words or these choices of adjective. We'll not just use everyday mundane adjective. We use all these good adjectives. Okay. Besides, the gravy and sauces were rich with spices and tasted creamy. Spices like herbs. If you can also add the adjective fragrant, for example, just now, right? Fragrant. So, for example, besides the gravy and sauces were rich with fragrant spices. Now we can add more adjective. And tasted creamy. Now these have made the best combination with the biryani rice, which is rich with Now, every dish was served on a big silver plate. Now, you're talking about the presentation of the food, like how the food was served, on what kind of plate the food was served. So the dish was served on a big silver plate, let's say on a gold plate, on a small gold plate, with the lamb and chicken wrapped in foil. Now it's even more visually appealing, or people can even visualize it better because you're coming up with all these descriptions like the lamb and chicken wrapped in foil. Okay, so now we are done. We're done talking about the menus and services. Moving on to the price, which is another element that you really cannot escape. You just cannot escape from. Okay, when talking about restaurant stuff. I had to pay 60 ringgit altogether, but you do not have to be specific with the pricing. You do not have to mention actually the price. Okay, you can just say generally, for example, it was affordable or it was reasonably priced. Okay, but this is just an example. You can say the price. Uh, for example, this one is 60 ringgit. I had to pay 60 ringgit altogether. Although it was quite expensive, considering that it was only for one person, so it was quite expensive. So although it was quite expensive, the price was actually okay. So now you're making your judgment. So it's expensive, yes, but okay, it's actually comparable to the food and service quality. So because the food was good, the service was good as well. So you don't really mind paying that much, okay, for what you got. And then you also want to how to say, are you also want to convince people more on the the reputation of this restaurant. So you can also make comparisons. For example, since I have also tried other Arabic restaurants in Malaysia or in Johor Bahru, let's say you just want to focus on Johor Bahru, okay, I can vouch for this restaurant's top-notch dishes. This is also a grammatical error. It's supposed to be this restaurant, Restaurant apostrophe S, because we are only talking about one restaurant. Okay, so I can vouch for this restaurant's top-notch top-notch dishes. Okay, so indirectly you are telling people that, oh, this is the best Arabic restaurant that you have been to. So now you sound even more convincing. Okay, finally, you're coming up with your recommendation. All in all, or overall, my experience dining in Wadi Hana El Arabi restaurant was amazing. Although the price may be expensive, it is worth it. I highly recommend this restaurant to everyone, especially those in favor of Arabic food. Okay, so first, of course, you talk about your overall experience. For example, it was amazing or it was unpleasant. That would be the first sentence for your concluding paragraph. Okay, talk about your whole your general experience first. And then the second one, you make like a concluding sentence or a concluding statement as to why you said so. For example, just now that it was amazing. So why? So, oh, because the price may be expensive, but it's worth it. Okay, so that would be the support to your previous statement. And then finally, whether you would recommend or whether you would not recommend it to people. So I highly recommend people to try this restaurant, or I highly recommend people to visit this restaurant. Okay, so yes, so now you can see very clearly how the structure should be. Okay, always stick to this layout, no matter what restaurant you want to talk about or what cafe you want to talk about. Just stick to this layout. It will help you structure your writing better, and it also helps you to avoid writing in excess for a particular paragraph, or it also helps you to avoid coming up with imbalanced paragraph. Like some paragraph are very short, while some other paragraph are long. We don't want that kind of um, structure or writing. That means because that would just mean that you did not organize your writing first before you wrote your essay. Okay, so we do not want to give the assessor or whoever that will check your paper that idea. Okay, now sample two. By the way, what time is it? Okay, but before that, let me check your understanding first. Okay, by the way, this is the recording that I told you about just now. Perhaps I can send that. Okay, but before that, so far is everything clear? Or am I going too fast? Clear? Okay, that's good. So if in case you have any question, please just let me know, or maybe you need more explanation. If there is no question, then I'll move on to the next sample. Okay? Yes, you have to look at. Maybe you can just go through. Of course, you can just go through the samples on your own. Yes. Okay, but basically it's just reading, right? So you need more information. Like you need more um, exposure on how to write each paragraph better. So that's why we need to go through it together. Okay. I won't simply ask you to read and go through the sample on your own. You have to go through it together. Now, this is another way for you to write the introduction. Okay, so it's okay. Instead of saying recently I went to a restaurant, you can also say I recently had the pleasure of dining somewhere. For example, I recently had the pleasure of dining at the Wadi Hana restaurant. This one, delicious eats restaurant. So you have mentioned the name of the restaurant, but then again, you can mention the location more specifically. So, but before that, before you mention the location more specifically or describe the location more specifically, you want to talk about the type of restaurant first. This one, a small family-owned restaurant. So that would be sufficient to describe the restaurant. Like what kind of restaurant it is, or who does the restaurant belong to. You can include that as well before you go further talking about the location. Now you say that it is located in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. It's located in the heart of Johor Bahru. The atmosphere of the restaurant was cozy and inviting, with warm lighting and wooden decor. So for this one, the writer added the atmosphere together in the first paragraph. So it's up to you how you want to structure. But I think the previous one is better. Here is more well structured compared to this one, because I believe that you need to have that one uh, paragraph specifically dedicated to talking about the atmosphere. I think atmosphere is like more in detail, so it cannot really be in the introductory paragraph. Not that it cannot really be, but it's just that I think it's better in the body paragraph. Okay, but still you can write it in your introductory paragraph, provided that it is not that long.